الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So the reason that I had asked who has laptops is because this portion is useless if you don't practice. And there's a huge portion of active to what we're going to do tonight. So if you're near somebody with a laptop, stick close to them. If you're not, I'll try and do some things on my computer so that we can all get the same value. Basically, what it's going to look like, we're starting 20 minutes late, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Originally, I had 10 minutes of a small lecture about what this idea is, and then like a 40-minute active session on our laptops, plural. But because we don't have laptops, because we're 20 minutes late, I'm going to cut it down, inshallah, and I hope to retain the same amount of information and benefit. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the topic of my presentation is documents are friends, not feudal. For those of you who get the Nemo joke, good for you. For those of you who didn't, I'm glad you get it now. Presented by Munther Documentation, and I will abandon my self-proclaimed title for a new one, which is amateur documenter. I will say this, like I said before, I have no formal training in this. I just have a passion for it, and I don't think that you need any formal training for this. I think all you need to do is spend a little time on it. So, first question. Why are you here? Why did you choose this session of all the sessions? Or rather, why did you choose this team, the training team, of all the ones? I'm going to randomly pick. Why are you here?
So I can attain the proper knowledge and qualities to, prepare myself to go to lead a Muslim future.
Awesome. That is a beautiful answer. Jazakumullah khair. Why are you here?
Same.
Oh, come on. That's cheating. You're serious? That's the same reason? Is everybody here so they can lead in Nusra?
No.
Okay, why are you here?
Honestly, because I saw your name on the phone.
Because, oh man, that was a bad decision.
You did well in college, by the way.
Yes. So there's a large portion of what we're going to do tonight, which is, I hope, actually leading off of what Brother Tariq mentioned about this concept of work and volunteering. And actually, I attended the same lecture that he gave a few years ago in the retreat, and he said something to me 8 months ago that stuck with me for forever. And that was that it's not enough to say I'm here, right? It's not enough to just show up and say I'm here, right? What we're doing as mass members is called professional volunteering, and I'm going to get into this later on in the lecture. So, the outline for today, I already talked about it. For this presentation, we're going to talk about the importance of documentation. We're going to compare McDonald's to mass, and hope we're going to have some kind of formal portion, active portion. So, next question: what's the best event that you have ever put together, Brother Ahmed? That you personally led?
Back in 2010, I worked with the co-host.
Tfadal.
So we did like an event called "Why Aren't You Married?"
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah.
You got a list of people.
Yep. Yeah, it was very successful actually. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
did that continue, or was it a one-time thing?
Yeah, no, it was actually 3 consecutive sessions, and then
Was it an annual event or?
No, it was just 3 sessions over like a 6-month period.
Okay. If I wanted to do that at my chapter, how would I do it?
You would come talk to me, and I'll give you all the details.
And this is exactly the problem that we have within Mass, right? Right now, our biggest issue is that we're reinventing the wheel every single chapter. Every single chapter, you go to them, you ask them, what's the best event you're doing? They'll tell you what it is. Tell them, I want to do it at my place. They'll be like, well, take one of our people with you so that you can learn how to do it. That's backwards and wrong, right? We should not be at such a low level of volunteership. We are the most powerful Muslim volunteer group in the US in terms of youth. Why aren't we doing better than this? And inshallah, we'll learn how to do better than this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So there were some amazing quotes that I heard that I just had to share about the concept of writing. So Imam Hassan al-Basri said that someone who attends a learning circle without a pen and paper is in the same situation as a man who goes to battle without a weapon. Incredible. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, when he was imprisoned, he was deprived of his writing utensil, so he used his blood as ink. When he was in prison, he was deprived of his writing utensil. That's how important it was, and it was so important to him that he used his own blood. This is all in a lecture from Imam Umar Sulaiman. That's who my source is. If you have any issues with my quotes, talk to him. The final one is a muhaddith, or somebody who collects a hadith, said, if I see a man going into the circles of a hadith without a pen, then I automatically class him as a narrator that I cannot take any narrations from. Right? That's the level of importance writing stuff down is, and you all better be writing stuff down.
That's why we brought our pen out.
There you go. I will let you have that for now.
Laptops are the modern day.
For now. I will let you have that for now. Let's talk about McDonald's. So McDonald's, very unhealthy. Please, nobody go to McDonald's. You're killing yourself. In the 1950s, McDonald's was not a barbecue. It was not a burger chain only. They were doing barbecue and burgers. But a few years after they started their business, they looked at their reports and they looked at their sales. Found that 80% of their sales were burgers and only 20% of their sales were barbecue. And then they looked at their problems, their reports, and they looked at 80% of their problems came from barbecue and only 20% of their problems came from burgers. So this is a no-brainer. Cut the barbecue, we lose all of our problems, and just stick to the burgers and we'll make a lot of money. So they completely cut out the barbecue concept and converted their chain into strictly a burger chain. They were able to reduce the price of their burgers from 30 cents per burger to 15 cents per burger. And in that year, went from making 200K at the end of the year to making 375K at the end of the year, right? Within 1 year, they almost doubled their profits, simply because they had receipts and reports, right? They had the information to guide them to make the right decision. And this was very early on in McDonald's career, and that's how they were doing. Now, this is like one of the worst companies in the world. Like in terms of health benefits, it's very poor, right? So, what about us, right? Like, why aren't we better than McDonald's, right? And this is where I bring in this idea of professional volunteering, right?
So we're better for your health.
Sorry?
So we're better for your health.
We're much better for your health, right? But more than that, people got paid at McDonald's, right? And you're getting paid for this. Your wages are not set yet, and you haven't seen your paycheck yet, but they're coming, right? And we have to realize that and really be serious about our work. And the reason that I have to make this point is because nobody in their right minds wants to sit down and document things when they think to themselves that I can go out and do some more work. But in the reality that if you document things properly, you get more work done. All right? Everyone clear on that? Okay, so this is unfortunately the state of mass right now, but we're changing that. Everybody in this room is going to be the agents of change, inshallah. So raise your hand if you ever started a project or event, ever. Up, high. Okay. Keep your hand up if you're still the lead on that event. Okay. Realize that the project that you are putting together will not or may not survive you if you did not properly document what you are doing. Okay? Okay, so now this is the active portion that I was going to dive into once I proved my point that Google Docs are the most creative and wonderful things on earth. I wanted you all to visit this link. So if you guys don't have a laptop, write it down, because there are actually some very valuable resources that I left in there for you and that you can access later on. I will show you what's in this folder in a moment, inshallah. Sorry, let me get out of the way so everyone can write it down.
Does that say
Yes, so this is https :// dot and then gl /A5CW1S.
Everything else is part of
That is not part of it, no. So let me tell you what my beautiful design that is not going to work was going to look like. I was going to have you all open up a Google Doc, and we were going to start documenting. Yeah, we're going to start documenting a project that I was going to have Humam present, which I will still have him present in a minute. And then we were going to go through that and learn how to project document in the room right now. And we're still going to do that, but it's going to be a little disjointed because I'm going to have to do a lot of the work instead of you guys doing the work, which is really what's supposed to happen. So I'm still going to proceed as planned. For those of you who have a laptop, were you able to get to that document, that link?
Yes.
Okay. Open up that link and create a new document. Call it FNL SOP.
There was a go.
Yep. Create one for yourself. FNL SOP, and then your name at the end. Humam, if I could have you come up. Let me know once you've created the document.
What was the link again?
I'll go back. It's goo.go. Goo.go without an E. I need at least one person to create the doc before we get started. Anyone know how to create a Google Doc? You should have access to edit that folder as soon as you got into it.
Yeah, I should drive it.
You have to add it to your drive? Okay, add it to your drive.
What do you want
Just create a new document, label it as FNLSOP, and then your name. I'm just waiting on the first person to do it, and then we'll get started.
Internet's massively slow right now.
Is it? Oh, maybe because we're all on it?
Yeah. I can't even get to the
To the link?
Yeah.
I can't even get to the hotel sign-in.
Oh, all right. There's a couple in here already. Awesome.
I know. I can't
There-
get to the page that I'm supposed to put the password in.
Okay. So I see that Sundus was able to do it. Noor was able to do it. Can you guys raise your hands? So I have. Okay. Awesome. The group name? Oh, so you can create your own name. You can create your own name. And Alia. Okay. So what's gonna happen right now? Once you have your Humam, you can be up here. So let me have everybody's attention for a second. Assalamu alaikum. All right. What's gonna happen right now is each of you have a Google Doc open. Hopefully, if you can't, look over somebody's shoulder at this point. And Humam is gonna present to you a project that happens in the Minnesota chapter. And all I want you to do is record as much information that you think is relevant to creating a document to replicate this in your chapter. Let me repeat that. Humam is going to present a project, and you have to write down everything that you think is relevant to creating this exact project in your own chapter. Okay? I'm going to give him 5 minutes to talk, and then you get 2 minutes of interrogation time. Okay? Humam, go.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So I was on the first FNL season 1 committee, which I'm not on anymore. I went to a different team. So basically, we came back from CAM or AIM last year, and we didn't really have anything going on in Minnesota. And we realized that a big issue that we had in our community was that people weren't really connected to the masajid. It was kind of filled with old people that would just chilling there all day. Youth didn't really go there, and if they wanted to do something or wrestle or be loud, they'd kind of be turned away. And we really wanted to change how the masjid was viewed. So we decided to have this event in the masjid, and we did so. And that was our whole goal was to attract people who weren't already connected to us, who weren't already in our circles, who were kind of distant from us, who didn't have any attachment to the masjid, who didn't necessarily wear hijab, or who didn't necessarily, just stand out as a Muslim. So that's what we did, and we targeted like late high school, early college, and even young professionals, so between the ages of 15 to 30. And we wanted to model it after SNL. Who's heard of SNL, Saturday Night Live? Chicago. The one on TV. Yeah. And so what makes SNL so successful is that they mess with your attention span. So people these days do not have long attention spans. That's why even if I go to a lecture for an hour, 15 minutes in, I'm like, so yeah, that's just how it is these days. So you gotta keep switching things up. So one thing we really kept consistent is that we switched up segments, 20 minutes max, and that was the largest segment. The other segments are like 5 to 10 minutes max. One thing we did differently that you don't really see at a typical Muslim event was that everything was interactive. Even the discussion, when we brought like a speaker or something like that, we gave him 20 minutes. 10 minutes was to speak. The other 10 minutes was to interact with the audience. We had icebreakers in the beginning where we had everybody get up, walk around. Like for example, we'd have yes in that corner, no, or actually agree in that corner, disagree, strongly agree, and strongly disagree, and we'd ask like crazy questions, like things like LGBTQ, sexuality, things like that, and we'd have them go to the corners, and that would spark a lot of debate. We even, okay, that's another thing. We had debates too, and that got really intense at some point. Another thing we had was entertainment. People love entertainment. That's one way to suck them in. So we had skits, and mashallah, Minnesota, we're very talented. So we had a lot of actors put on some crazy skits. We picked at each other. Yeah, so that's basically what we did. Does anyone have any questions?
So you have 4 minutes to ask him any question that you want. Go ahead.
So you said that you need to attract people from the outside. How did you attract them? What ways?
So one thing we did was Facebook. So we made these really, in our community, because we're considered controversial flyers.
Hello.
So we had an event, for example, about like love and stuff like that, and we literally called it halal dating, ...
Nice.
And our new director got about like 30 phone calls or something like that. But you know what? It brought people. It brought people who weren't like, who we've never seen, like those people you see on Eid. They all showed up. And alhamdulillah, we're able to deliver to them our version of love and how to go about that.
Very nice.
Does that answer your question?
What were some of the topics you guys talked about?
We tackled racism, and the title for that event was called "But Bilal Was Black." So that references, you know, like when a lot of Muslims are like called out for their racism, they're like, "Oh no, I'm not racist. I'm Muslim, and Bilal was black, so I'm not racist. I can't be racist." So we talked about that. We had halal dating, getting active in your community, and things like that.
Was it a weekly event?
Bi-weekly. So actually we had the event on Friday nights, and then the following Friday that we didn't have the event, we sat down for 2 hours and planned the next one.
She was first and then you're next.
Who was?
How many attendees, like how much did it range? Like what was the number that you guys got?
So in the beginning, we had about like 50 people, our first event, and then now we're averaging, well, not me anymore, but we're averaging like about like 100 people, 90.
50. 50.
Yeah. But that was over the course of a whole season, so.
What committees did you guys break into to organize the event?
Okay, so we had food committee. We had people break up and go and take care of the food, cut deals with companies and things like that. We had skit committee, so they put on entertainment. We had MC committee. We have weekly update. Weekly update was another thing we really took from SNL. You guys are going to see a little. Okay, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, weekly update where we basically had fake news. I don't know if you guys have seen the Mass Minnesota Convention video. Yeah, it's just really goofy. I think that's it.
Brother was first.
Did you guys have a registration system to keep track of people's names and emails so you can...
Has to have been on paper though.
Yeah, so what we did, on Google Docs actually. So what we did, we had a table in the front with the Mass Youth thingy on it, and we had a guy and a brother and a sister sit there, and whoever would walk in would just put their name and their email.
How many people were in your committee or the team that was?
1 minute left.
So about 16 people. Yeah, so big team.
Rohan?
What's like the age dynamic for the people that attend?
The thing is, we're aiming for 15 to like 30, but most of the people that came were like early college. We had a good number of late high school, but we had a lot of young professionals too, which surprised us.
How did you ensure that people would be coming back other than just doing like interesting topics? How did you get people to come back and engage in the program?
We realized, because we had surveys, and we realized that a lot of, we really followed the surveys, we took the feedback. So like when something was offensive, we'd address it in the next event. And we offended people a lot.
The final two questions, one from over there, and then the sister over here.
It was actually good. People wanted
What do they do there?
Oh, so we talked about things that your ammus and khalas don't talk about.
Put it in 10 seconds.
Like you like somebody, what do you do? Do you go talk to them? What do you do? And we saw some crazy opinions. We addressed them.
Final question?
Did the youth give feedback other than just surveys?
Yeah, so at the end of the event, we had this deep reflective circle or whatever, and so we put away all the chairs and we all sat in a circle. And everybody just kind of like said how they felt, I guess.
Round of applause for Humam.
Round of applause for Munther.
No, we're not done yet. All right, Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. So we gathered a lot of information. How do we organize it, right? Because you can't walk up to your team. Jazakallah khair, Humam. You can't walk up to, what Humam did was nice, right? Like he came and he told us all of his personal experience from the team, right? So obviously he loved the fact that they did these crazy flyers, right? But if you walk up to your youth director and you tell them, I want to do this event with crazy flyers, then they're going to be like, well, where's the rest of the content, right? So how do we organize the content, all the data that we have? And I'm just going to quick shout out to a few people, I'm not going to mention you by name, who used bullet points because you are my people. Jazakumullah khair. So this is my system of organization, which you are welcome to adopt or change. But I'm going to propose this, and you can change it however you like. You should always start with the Simon Sinek circle, golden circle. Why, and then how, and then what, right? So what Humam did when he first came up is he told you the purpose. Always start your document with the purpose, right? The purpose of this document is to tell us about this awesome event called FNL that's going to bring the youth to the mosque. That's the first thing that Humam did when he stood up here. By the way, I didn't prep him for this at all. I alerted him yesterday that he had to come today. So that was all on the spot. You're welcome to do an overview. I personally don't do an overview in mine because I think overviews are too limiting. And then audience. So the second thing Humam said was it's from ages 15 to 30, right? These are essential information that no one will understand your document unless you give it to them. 4, what works? 5, what doesn't work, right? And you're welcome to break down into deeper levels of organization, but this is like basic information that has to be on the document. So I want to give 2 minutes for everybody who has a doc to go into it and try to organize your doc in this format. For those of you who have the doc on Google Docs. This is why I will say that I made a request that everybody bring their laptops and for it to be written in the program. It was forgotten on the program, so I apologize in advance. That's why it feels a little unfair to the people who are in this room, and I really wish that I could have been better at this. Because that is the scenario we're in, I am going to hijack somebody's Google Doc because I have access to it. I use the word hijack. Yeah, I'm well aware. Okay.
Hijack's too small time for us, man.
Oh yeah, no, this is mass, man. We do more than hijack. Okay, are you okay with this? Nandi? Are you okay with me stealing your doc and putting it on the screen? Okay, good. So, you started off with the overview, good. I'm just gonna watch you, by the way. Yeah. And the purpose is stated, right? The purpose is events at the masjid. The Zoom on here is terrible.
Yeah, it's resolution.
Okay, well, there's nothing I can do about that.
You can change it. You could right click and change the resolution.
On the desktop.
Yeah, there's so much work. Now, I'm getting there.
No, screen resolution.
Oh, did I get the wrong? Sorry.
No, you can my voice.
It's the highest.
You're supposed to make it smaller.
That one, yeah.
Okay.
Apply.
I'm always okay.
There we go.
No, well, we can zoom in. We can zoom in exactly. All right, let's see if I can open these back up. Oh, nice. Oh, look at that, mashallah. Oh, see, we gave you more time to organize. Okay. So purpose is stated, right? And then it talks about the audience, age group, perfect. Medium used, what does that mean? Oh, the medium that you project your information?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Entertainment, okay. Example topics and committees. Okay. So by the way, the questions that I loved from the audience were how many people were involved in putting it together? What were the committees? That was awesome because you can take that back to your group. There was another question. SubhanAllah, I don't remember them all. I don't have a great memory. But if I smiled when you guys mentioned it, then that means I liked it. Okay. So now that we have at least one document organized, we're going to switch back to the presentation and move on to the next portion of the presentation.
What's the what part?
Sorry?
What part? Do we have a how, why, how, and what?
Yes.
What part?
Right. So why is your purpose? Your purpose is right there. How is the committees, right? How you put it together. And what is what the product is, right? And that's the end product, which is the full document. But just whenever you're thinking of, I mean, this is a general statement. Whenever you're thinking of doing anything for volunteer work or in life, start with your why and work your way out.
Just to point out, I don't know if anyone else is in education. I've been a teacher for almost 10 years. This reminds me a lot of the lesson plans I do.
Yeah.
And one of the things that will be really, really beneficial also as you're setting out the when and the how and things like that is for the actual event, how much time you want to use to address each section. So it helps you to stay on course, especially if you're crunched for time.
Yep.
And then at the end, I would add a 6. You know, not just the what to do, what not to do, what went well, what didn't go well,
yep.
what might you do in the future to make it better.
Yes.
And like you, that's what I do. I've got lesson plans for 10 years. I still have everything. And some of the ones I go back and look at, I still tweak them, stuff I did.
Exactly. So what you're talking about is living documents, right? Things that you can write in them what to do next time and then revisit them and edit them from there, which is awesome.
And then it's easy peasy. That's
standardization.
Yep, that's it.
My people. All right. This is important. We don't like reading a lot of stuff. I can tell you that I know every single person in this room has gone through their Facebook feed, saw a paragraph, was like, I'm not reading this. This is too big. TLDR, right? Too long, don't read. Retain need to know and delete nice to know information. And this is across the board, right? So Humam, like I said, was very personable about what he liked about the team, right? I may not care so much that there were these corner rooms that was like agree, disagree, strongly disagree, right? That may not matter to me. What matters to me in that is that it was a new way of approaching the youth, right? So your title doesn't have to be, we set up 4 corners in the room to say this, that, and the other thing. It could be, we cause the youth to move in a different way, right? And if somebody has a question about that, then they can go and contact Humam, whose name would be on the document, right? So you set the outline, you set the precedent, you set the mentality, right? You set the why, you don't set the what in the document, and then you just put the contact info for the person who the why came from. And we can always get in touch with that person very easily. Okay, next step. So now we have, inshallah, a document that has all of the need to know information and it's organized. Utilizing your tools. So this is probably actually my favorite part because I like documents that look nice. I won't actually read documents that don't look nice. I feel like they didn't put enough heart and effort into it. Maybe I'm biased. But there are a lot of tools on Google Docs that I just want to run through for those of you who are unaware of them because they're pretty awesome. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to show you the documents that are great documents in my opinion and some that are not so great in my opinion as well. So we're going to go back to your presentation. I hope you're okay with that. All right, so first of all, we're going to set this, I'm going to ruin your formatting, deal with it. We're going to set this as a title. And we're going to set these as headers. And I'm just picking the headings as heading 1, and you'll see exactly why. Right? Once I set a few headings, I know it looks ugly. We'll get to it later. there is this amazing tool that I can put. So after Saturday Night Live, you go to, nope, there. Inserts. All the way at the bottom, there's a table of contents. If you use the headings feature on your Google Doc, right? So you saw how I went into each of these titles and put headings, then it will create these links, which will take you directly to the headings, which means that you don't have to scroll through anything. It just takes you directly to the heading. Now, I know, I mean, it almost made me cry the first time I saw it. It really did. Now, it goes a step further, right? So if I was to set this.
This is all free?
This is all free, man.
Yeah, Google Docs.
Now, if I was to set this as a heading 2, right? A subheading underneath overview. I know it looks bad. It's okay, be okay. Then I can come back up here. There's a refresh option, and it'll set that underneath. All right. Oh, sorry. So if you scroll up and you click anywhere near the links, the refresh button will come up right here. Sorry? Okay. So let me just run through that again for those of you who I did it too fast for. So first, you set up all your items as headings, right? And let's say you don't like this font, right? Let's say you want to design your own font. So let's say I want it bold, italicized, and bright pink, purple, whatever that color is. And then I can say, this is what I want all of my headings to look like, right? So I'll click on this button and say, update heading 1 to match. And it'll automatically change all of my heading 1s to match the formatting that I chose.
Nice.
All right? And then I want my table of contents in there, so I make a space for it. I know. I go to insert, all the way in the bottom, table of contents. All right, any questions about that? Does Google pay me? Sorry? Table of content. If you go to insert, which is right, the fourth item, it's all the way in the bottom. Well, I already have one in there, so it won't let me do it again.
Is it easier to do it on Microsoft Word and then just...
I don't believe in Microsoft Word. All right, no, and I say that because I don't want to pay for stuff when I can get it for free.
But let's say if a person finds the word easier, can they just do that and upload it, or do you find this easier?
I don't know if the formatting will convert. So like the reason that I really like this is because specifically the links. Because I can link something and go straight down. Now obviously it's more professional if you were to print a document to go through Word and have the table of contents with the page numbers all matched up. And when I was doing like my work in school, that's what we would do. But most of the documents that you're going to work in mass are shared documents that you're going to want to offer people this option to click down. Any other questions? Anybody? Okay. I am clearly biased, and I will not downplay that because it's important that you understand my biases. Okay, so we talked about headings, table of contents, page numbers. If you guys don't know how to insert page numbers, I can show you very quickly. And headers and footers with contact info and date inserted. And so I'm just going to run through, I'll get to the headers and footer, I'll run through both actually really quickly. So they're all under insert. Insert header, insert footer, insert page number. So let's say I wanted it on the bottom of each page, on the right. Where's my scroll option? There we go, automatically on each page. A page number will make the difference between an amateur and a professional document. It sounds really silly, trust me, people for some reason appreciate page numbers. I've gotten marks from B's all the way to A minuses because of page number once on a document. I don't know what it is about page numbers, but people just like and then next to it, you can write contact info, munther.e@gmail.com. Yes, you'll see it again at the end, inshallah, if you want to catch it. And then I can say updated 10/2015. You can be as specific or as ambiguous as you like. But it's important that you let your audience know when the last time it was updated, right? Because if this was a document from 2008, it's going to be completely different than a document from 2015, right? This is why I had to talk about the importance of the work.
Does Google Docs tell you when it was last updated?
It does tell you when it was last updated, but you might download it onto a different format, and you won't know whether or not it was last updated. So yes, if you keep it on Google Doc, that's awesome, but you don't know if you're going to convert it.
bother with all that heading font and all that. I mean, I'll still do it, but if I do it in a different way where it's still outlined what is the top thing and then what's the index and all that kind of thing.
So
I have to go through the route that you went through, or can I do that on you?
So you have to tell Google that you're putting a heading on there, and it knows that when you click the heading option. Now, if you don't like the formatting of the heading option, you could always change that, right? But in order to have that table of contents auto-copulate, I guess is the word, then you'd have to indicate to Google, hey, this is a heading 1, this is the second heading, this is the fourth heading, and it'll adjust it for you. All right? So this is an example of a document that I created. Now there's something missing on here. Can anybody tell me what's missing? No, there's the table of contents right there. Thank you, yes. I only realized this 2 days ago and it was too late for me to change the document, so I figured I'd just test you guys with it. So at the end, I mean, this is an example of a super high level amount of information that is way too much. So this document has been updated 4 times since it's been written, and yet it still says version 1.0, right? Don't commit to things that you're not gonna stick to. So if you're not willing to put version 1, version 2, and you're just write last updated on this day, right? I just thought it looked nicer. I'm gonna take it off after this meeting is done, inshallah. And always put the contact info, email and phone number if possible. If you're not comfortable with the phone number, just go with email. Because like I said, you're gonna include in this document the why, but somebody's gonna need to talk to you about the how, the what sometimes.
So sometimes, just like the version, for example, you have to remember all these little things around the document that you must update, let's say if you're going from one document to the other, or from one version to the other.
Yes.
Is there any way we can
automate that?
Automate that, or?
Possibly. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay. I'll be honest. I personally will tell you to try to leave only one thing that you need to update, instead of putting yourself through a headache, right? So for me, I'm gonna omit this version 1.0, and I'm just gonna leave this last reviewed piece right here, and I'm gonna update it whenever it's updated.
Okay, so maybe one recommendation for that is there's some sort of comments that you can actually highlight some locations on the page where a comment will show up on the side, and then you can always kind of reference back to it. It won't print the comment, it'll just be completely off the page.
Right. So there is, so there was a discussion earlier about whether or not Google can show you what the history of changes are. And there is a revision history option in Google if you retain the document on Google. And it'll tell you, these are the revisions that were made, what time they were made, and it'll actually give you what the document looked like on the date that it was made. I'll show you how to get there one more time. It's under File, and it's under See Revision History. But really, I'm not getting that deep into it because my goal is to get you guys just to document first and to make people want to read your documents. That's kind of the purpose of this portion, inshallah, of this mini course. No, that's not the right one. Okay. The visuals. 6 o'clock already, mashallah. So there's this concept that less is more, Charmin Ultra, right? So this is why I talked about bullet points being amazing. Nobody wants to read a paragraph. Nobody wants to read your paragraphs. I don't care how long you worked on them. Nobody wants to read your paragraphs. Bullet points are beautiful if you can. If there's an idea that you can put in a chart or an algorithm or some way, shape, or form, do it, right? And there is a tool on Google. If you go to Insert, it's called Draw, where you can draw out a chart and you can edit it within Google. And if you can do that, then your document will be simplified for anybody who looks at it. I don't know if I put in an example. So this is just an example of the power of visual, right? So in the Mass Minnesota chapter recently produced a Khatib training workshop, standard operating procedure, which is in the folder that I shared with you all. And they had this little chart on it, right? And it's clearly a calendar. And if you read it in order, it talks about time and how you have a very small amount of time. If somebody were to give me this as 30 lines on a page, it would not be as interesting to me as somebody putting it in a calendar itself, right? If you want to read the whole thing, it's in the Mass Minnesota document for the Khatib training workshop, and you have access to it with the link that I gave you earlier. I'm sorry, we have to move on, and I can't let you read the whole thing. Okay. So, well, that was easy. Right? That seemed pretty easy. Yes? Do you guys agree with me? No, thank you. Who was honest with me? Jazakumullah khair. Okay, so the reason that I specifically am saying this is not easy is because we did this all backwards, right? We came with the end product and we tried to create the document from the end product. And that is the most difficult thing to do, right? Because Humam's opinion is an opinion, no matter how you look at it. And even if we were to try to survey every single person who's involved, we might get 80 to 90% of the information, but it still won't be perfect. So the rule when it comes to documentation is to start with it, right? So if you're going to start a project like FNL, like if Humam's talk really inspired you and you want to start a local project FNL, start a document and write your purpose. And then fill in the rest as you go, right? It'll give order to your thoughts and credibility to your high upper level management who needs to approve your budgets, right? Because you can show them this is a purpose statement from my chapter, and guess what? When I pass away or when I move on to a different project, you guys can keep doing this after me. So this is not for me at all, in the least, and I can prove this to you by giving you this document. Okay? Start with documentation. So this is what I want to present. So the example that I wanted to give is this. I worked on the Boston retreat team for a very long time, alhamdulillah. And I finally put this chart together after like 10 retreats planning. And it took a lot of work. I think this one thing, alhamdulillah, took me like 4 hours just to get in terms of formatting and everything. And the reason it took me so long is mostly because I had to decide where to put the deadlines in the chart, right? I didn't know where the deadline should be because it was post-retreat by like 6 months and I had to think back and it was just difficult, right? So it's very hard to pull something like that off as opposed to starting every single month, right? That'd be much easier to do it stepwise at the end of every month. Now, what's the value of all of this? We started the documentation campaign for the retreat in 2011. And now, alhamdulillah, the Boston team has 6 years worth of retreats saved. What this means is that I have the program for 6 years running. I have the attendees with their contact info, birthdays, phone numbers, not social security numbers, but their parents' info, all saved. And obviously, when it comes to things like that, you want to limit the access to these documents. Well, there's a safety issue there. You don't want to create a shared link that's viewable by everybody. You just want to limit it to a certain audience, of course. But because of all of that, I was able to put together that chart that I presented before because I had the data, right? Just like McDonald's, they had the data and they were able to evaluate the data and improve their workflow. We need to create a culture where we start by collecting data, and it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of heart. It's going to take a lot of soul. It's going to take a lot of red eyes in front of computers sometimes. But if you're serious about this work, and if you're serious about it so much so that you think it's more important than McDonald's, then I think that we can all do it. There was a question over here.
So I think going back to like what Tarek's comment about creating a culture when we did the leadership training. So how did you guys create that culture in Boston to...
Documentation culture?
Yeah, so to basically mandate or whatever you guys, they want to share that with them.
Yeah, we were frustrated. So in 2011, we got upset with the idea that every single year we had to bring somebody in from last year and have them lead the retreat planning because none of us had the full information on what to do and what camps and what contracts, etc. Because there's so much that goes into it, right? It's literally 6 months of planning, as you saw. And so we had to every single time try and bring somebody back, and we got annoyed with it. So we said, listen, now that this person's back, we're just going to write down everything that they do. And next year we'll keep writing and we won't stop, right? So it was actually born out of frustration. And then I was able to attend Brother Tariq Promel's lecture, or rather workshop a few months ago about this concept of like professional volunteering. And that's when I started the standard operating procedure that you saw with all the graphics.
Is there been any talk about, or is there any kind of national wiki where you can kind of submit these things so everybody across the country can take a look at what other people are doing, how they're doing it?
Absolutely. So there isn't one right now. We recently, the blog team, you're going to have a presentation about this in a few hours, transitioned to a team called the Marketing and Communication Department. And in that team, inshallah, we're going to work with the training team, hopefully, to create standardized formats and distribute them to different groups. The purpose of this meeting is for you guys to start the culture, right? To start the culture of documentation in your workshops. And when the standardized formats come, you're welcome to adopt them or abandon them, right? We're gonna use them. They're tools at your disposal when they get to you, inshallah. But the real purpose is for you guys just to get started on it, because, like I said, it's really sad that we've been here for 20 plus years and we have to recreate all these projects from scratch in every single chapter. Any other questions?
What if you're documenting like brainstorming or like a thought process that's not as linear?
Yes.
Documenting, you use the same, I don't know, does the same format work?
On the blog team, we have an Excel sheet called the there's an Excel document called the Neat Sheet. I'm a document freak. Called the Neat Sheet, and in it there's a sheet specifically for brainstorming ideas. And I just allow people to free write wherever they want on the entire Excel sheet, and they're welcome to use any font, any thought process, anything, and literally, like, it kind of hurts me sometimes, but they'll go far into the margins and far into the wasteland of Excel, and it's difficult, alhamdulillah. So you can still use creative freedom within the docs, is my...
But like, what if it's part of like, something that you're going to share as part, like let's say you have a program and you want to document the brainstorming and share it with somebody else.
So just type up all the thoughts that come up. So brainstorming session in my mind looks like this, right? You sit down 10 minutes, there's no critique, all we do is throw out ideas. Just write the ideas as you go along, and you don't have to organize them, or you can organize them by set of ideas. We recently started planning our new retreat, and people started out giving out ideas for what our theme should be, and we organize them by spiritual, social justice, and one more session, right? So you can create general organization, or you can leave it completely random, or you can alphabetize it, as long as the information is retained, right? Because all that we're looking for is the information to be retained. Other questions? Okay, I think, oh, yes, that. So this is my email if you need anything. I did, at the same link, there is a document, or rather a folder filled with documents. There's the retreat standard operating procedure that I worked on for Boston. There's the Mass Minnesota Khatib training manual. Those two are, more the Minnesota one than mine, are incredible documents that I advise you to take a look at and implement in your chapter if you can. The other documents are so-so, and the reason I put them in there is so that you realize that you don't have to put, you don't have to go all the way with all the colors and etc. to have the information be retained. Sorry.
Where do you get those documents?
They were forwarded to me from the person who led this last year.
So how do we get access to it?
You had that link, the goo.go. Yes, it has a folder in it called example documents.
Oh, exactly.
Just open that up, and they're in view-only format, so you guys can't change them, but you can copy them if you want to edit them, inshallah. Anything else? Oh, yeah, that's right. Jazakumullah khair. I completely forgot that. So when we were trying to come up with a name for this session, we kept coming back to this idea that we were unable to express in a short, quick title. And I completely forgot about the idea. Jazakumullah khair for reminding me. And it's the concept of sadaqah jariyah, right? And it's the concept that if you truly document something, you can provide the necessary tools for an event to happen 20 years after you've left that chapter. And you get the reward for every single time it happens in every single heart that it touches, right? And we don't think of sadaqah jariyah sometimes in that form of, it's just a form, right? It's just a document. But subhanAllah, like it really is, because you started that document. You're the creator. You can look at the history, the revision history. It was started on this day by this person. And ever since then, 20 years later, they're still gonna get that same reward. That I think, and this is why I couldn't come up with a name of it, right? Like the modern or the unique or the easiest form of sadaqah jariyah, right? It seems to cheapen the concept of sadaqah jariyah, but it still is in and of itself a form of continuous charity. So just keep that in mind as you embark on your journey in documentation.
Can you document after the event has happened?
That's what we did today, and it's hard. You can do it. That's what I did with the retreat. But it takes like double the amount of time. Other questions? Jazakumullah khair.